Hello, and welcome to another video from 3.5 Archive. Today we're going to be doing another D&D 3.5 Prestige class review, and we're going to be looking at the Master of Many Forms Prestige class from the Complete Adventure sourcebook. All druids learn to shapeshift after a certain point in their progression, but the Master of Many Forms all but loses touch with her original form, learning to transform herself into any kind of creature she needs to be in order to accomplish her goals. Such characters often become very soulful, as their inner identity is the only one they have as their physical identity fades away. This prestige class is based on the shifter from the 3.0 edition supplement Masters of the Wild. And so this is a prestige class, of course, that's very focused on shapeshifting. To become one, you're going to need to have alertness, endurance, and the ability to wild shape. That's it. These feats aren't that good by themselves, and also, interestingly, are feats that you usually get for free from levels in other classes, in this case Wizard and Ranger. The requirements are also a bit weird. Alertness doesn't make much sense here when it comes to shifting your form. Endurance sort of does, insofar as you put effort into enduring the great many changes to your body, but even so, these feat requirements really restrict your character. Unless you play a human, this will occupy all of your feat choices going into this prestige class, assuming that you go in after level 5 when you get the wild shape feature. Despite being very short, this prestige class's requirements are very restrictive. They don't leave you much room to customize your character, mostly because you have to have levels in Druid to enter this class in a relatively timely fashion levels-wise, so you are pretty much stuck with just building your character around this prestige class until you get into it. So let's see if it's worth what you give up options-wise to take levels in Masters of Many Forms. So the Master of Many Forms gets a D8 hit die, 4 plus intelligence modifier skill points per level, and a 3/4 level base attack bonus, the same as a Druid. The difference is that you get good fortitude and reflex saves from this prestige class rather than fortitude and will like you would from a Druid. These are decent enough stats, especially when you'll be changing forms so much. You won't have to use them that often. This prestige class also has no spellcasting progression. To be clear, when you take levels in Master of Many Forms, your Druid spellcasting stops entirely. You will still be casting spells as a 5th level Druid at level 15 if you commit to this prestige class. That's a big thing to give up, but it still might be worth it. Let's see what class features you get. At level 1 you get 2 features, the first of which is Shifter's Speech. This lets you speak normally while in any form you take, as well as letting you use verbal components for spells. You're also able to communicate with other creatures of the kind of form you take while in that form. This is somewhat useful, although many spells still have somatic components, so you're still going to want to take natural spell anyway. It is nice to be able to talk to your allies, but Shifter's Speech isn't that great otherwise in terms of how powerful your character is. And also, getting to be able to do verbal components for spells really isn't that helpful when your spellcasting progression is going to stop as soon as you take levels in this prestige class. Also at level 1, you learn Improved Wild Shape. This class feature unlocks new creature types you can use your wild shape to shift into. First, you get the ability to shapeshift into humanoids. This right away unlocks a ton of options. For an easy example, you could shapeshift into a Crucian, a hard-shelled beetle-like humanoid from the Sandstorm supplement, for a quick +8 natural armor bonus to AC. A lot of humanoids don't have great special attacks, but this is just the first level. And the best part? For each level in this prestige class, you get another daily use of Wild Shape. That is a far faster rate than you would get from Druid, even if you didn't get so many different forms. So that's a great upside right there. At level 2, you gain the ability to change into a giant, and you also unlock the ability to change into any of your improved forms of up to large size. For humanoids, this wasn't an issue, as there are few, if any, large humanoids, but almost all giants are large, save for maybe the forest troll. Being able to run around as a troll with Rend after level 9 is great, and at level 12 you can be a mightily strong hill giant and crush your foes. Still, giants aren't the most bang for your buck when it comes to hit dice, as they tend to have lots of hit points and not much to show for them abilities-wise. At level 3 you get Fast Wild Shape, letting you wild shape as a move action instead of a standard action. This lets you spend that standard action casting a spell, either to buff yourself or to lash out at the enemy, before closing into Shred with Claws and Bite, or perhaps a regular weapon with all of your new forms you have available. You also get the ability to wild shape into monstrous humanoids. This can give you the dire charge of a Minotaur, or the rend and powerful attacks of an Annis Hag, or the even more numerous natural attacks of a Gargoyle. At level 4 you get access to Fey type, for your shape-shifting, opening up even more options. Red caps are great as an option here. At level 5, you also get access to Vermin Wild Shape. The poison here can be pretty solid, but Vermin are also fairly inefficient when it comes to their hit dice. A 9 hit die Vermin is not going to pack the same kind of punch compared to other creature types for sure. And if you look over the Vermin creature stats, you can see that this is very true. At level 6, you gain the ability to Wild Shape into Aberrations, allowing yourself access to shapeshifting into a Beholder with its special eye ray attacks at character level 11. This is probably the most powerful class of monsters so far. You also get access to huge-sized shapes at this level. At level 7, you get Extraordinary Wild Shape, allowing you to gain the extraordinary special qualities of any form you assume with Wild Shape. This includes damage reduction against physical damage types, as well as most immunities. This means you can go into almost any fight with immunity to the enemy monster's attacks, and there are many guides online to give you options for what forms to take to completely negate monsters' attacks just based on what form you take as a master of many forms. This level is where the class truly comes to life, bypassing one of the biggest limitations of shapeshifting and polymorph. At level 8, you gain the ability to shapeshift into oozes. This is another type of monster that isn't very efficient in terms of hit dice. You can be quite powerful if you split up as an Elder Black Pudding beforehand, but it does make you fairly vulnerable to area attacks from your enemies, which can ruin your day quite quickly. Still, being an ooze can let you bypass a lot of barriers simply by virtue of being amorphous, and some ooze like the Bone Ooze can do significant ability drain. That said, by the time you're at the level you can shapeshift into those, ability drain is a lot less relevant compared to other more devastating things you could be doing. You also get access to diminutive forms too, letting you turn into toad-sized fairies to spy on your foes. At level 9 you can become an elemental, and at level 10 you gain the ability to become up to gargantuan size, as well as access to the dragon type. This lets you turn into any dragon of up to gargantuan size with 15 or fewer hit dice. You also get ever-shifting form, giving you the shapeshifter subtype, and making you immune to any transmutation effect you don't wish to accept the results of. Being immune to disintegrate is pretty cool, although it likely won't come up often. You also get immunity to aging penalties, which is a cool ability as well, but, practically irrelevant in most campaigns. So overall, looking at this prestige class, you trade higher level druid spellcasting to be able to access a huge variety of forms to shapeshift into. You get access to almost every creature type. Magical Beast is a notable exception, but with the Frozen Wild Shape feature from Frostburn, you can turn yourself into Magical Beast with the Cold subtype, allowing yourself to be a Cryohydra or Frostworm later on. There are a huge variety of options for this prestige class to make it even more powerful, and ultimately the biggest discussion here comes down to whether or not it is worth trading out Druid spellcasting for this fantastic ability. After all, the extraordinary special qualities you can get from your various forms will not include spell-like abilities to get you replacements for the Druid spellcasting you'll be missing out on. The Druid spell list comes with a lot of very flavorful, albeit somewhat limited substitutes for higher level wizard spells, like Transport via Plants or Tree Stride in place of Teleport. Still, what makes Druid so great has never been its third-rate spell list, but the combination of shapeshifting, animal companion, and spellcasting together. This prestige class only advances one of those things. It is incredibly fun and incredibly potent, and in many ways it is more flexible than spellcasting in terms of being able to win combat. And combat is a huge part of D&D in almost all campaigns. This prestige class can also have a lot of mobility with the movement modes of various forms it can take, but that is true of the base druid as well. In the end, this is a very combat-focused druid, focused essentially on polymorphing as much as possible. It is quite strong, since it can't essentially be dispelled, but ultimately that incredible versatility lags behind that of a wizard, or possibly even a basic druid. In the end, it's roughly an even trade-off, and you certainly won't regret taking this prestige class, especially if your party has a wizard to cover your party's utility spellcasting needs. If you're going to play this prestige class, it's important to have your stats ready to go and to be very familiar with the alternate form rules. You have an insane amount of flexibility, so you should track a few favored forms and have those stats available at all times. Slowing down the game to recalculate your stats is just going to make everyone annoyed and probably get you frustrated with the prestige class as well. That said, you do have an enormous amount of versatility here, and you shouldn't just limit yourself to those favored forms. Combined with the Warshaper prestige class from Complete Warrior, this prestige class can become absolutely insane, with fast healing and critical hit immunity on top of a whole entire arsenal of different forms you can take to overcome almost any challenge. So overall, the Master of Many Forms gets 3 stars for concept and 4 stars for execution. Obviously, it wouldn't make much sense to get full spellcasting from this prestige class, but at least a few levels would be nice. That said, it does have some very potent abilities to make it a tempting option for any character the party isn't going to be leaning on for utility spells, which probably shouldn't be the druid anyway, to be fair. So you can take levels in the Master of Many Forms guilt-free. That'll be about it for this D&D 3.5 Prestige class review. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and so on. And I will see you next time here on 3.5 Archive.